Hi everyone, greetings, great to be back with you. I'd be with you all the time if I could. Before I launch into my weekly monologue, I just want to give you a quick reminder to check out my patreon.com site. But you love hearing me talk about my patreon.com site, but it's by persuading as many people as possible to go there and sign up and part of some cash that I can be reassured about the necessary support for this channel. If you become a member, it'll be at the cost of, the price of a cup of coffee every month. And it's cheaper if you sign up for 12 months all at once, but you can pay monthly if you want. You get early access to my new content, and you get exclusive access to a question and answer session with me every week, amongst other bits and bobs here and there. It's a great site. Join up, stir yourself into the mix and help make it even better. Okay. Now it's time to listen to me rant. When the history books about this decade of the 21st century are written, genocide will feature again and again and again. By which I mean the deliberate destruction of people. Because that's what genocide is. You call it anti-human if you like, I regularly do. But a toxic rose by any other name, I would say already there can be no doubting the intention to cut our numbers, to move towards a future inhabited by fewer of the likes of us. Whatever other objectives are out there being pursued by the powerful, the reduction of the human population is to the fore. And I don't know what other word to use to describe that. Not if you want to tell the truth. It's no secret, the desire, the intention for the fewer of us. It's not disguised at all. Human beings, especially but not only the populations of the developed West, have clearly been identified not as the be-all and end-all of creation, which was the way humanity used to be looked upon, but rather as a problem to be solved. Agenda 2030, the United Nations Pact for the Future, the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty and its attendant international health regulations, all of it envisions a world of fewer people making less use of the resources of the world. Agenda 2030 might see, in due course, to the cutting of the global population by as much as a half. Those that remain will certainly live lesser lives than before. That we, the people, are the problem, are perceived as the problem, is nowhere made more plain to see than in relation to the most basic elements of life. For starters, birth rates are in decline all around the world. So few babies being born, especially to the populations of notionally developed countries, that the indigenous populations there will die out in the century ahead. They will be no more. Human fertility itself is in retreat. There's a complex cocktail out there, a combination of physical, physiological, sociological, and psychological factors. Another essential for life is energy. Energy for heat and cooking at the simplest human level, but also for industry, for the production of those things that have made and make possible better, longer lives. But Agenda 2030 is taking energy away, outlawing access to and use of the abundant, efficient, affordable sources of energy our species has exploited since time out of mind. Oil, gas, coal, cast into the dustbin of history. Not in the productive countries of the world, of course, not in China, not in Russia, not in India and throughout Asia, but here in the West. Here in the West, where the sun is truly setting. The ancestors burned wood, but the likes of Bill Gates, to name but one of his ilk, him and the rest of his like-minded philanthropaths, would like to see trees cut down and buried. To cut down on CO2 and save the planet. cutting down trees and burying them. Trees that are the planet's oldest solution to the challenge of capturing carbon. But perhaps most pernicious of all when it comes to the blatant intention of the malevolent powerful to see to our undoing, well, it's about their intentions for our food. I worry about fertility and energy. Those have implications for me but certainly mine, my children, God willing, grandchildren in the years ahead. But it's access to food that tends to focus my fears approximately 3 times a day, every day. And this week I'm seeing headlines and listening to coverage of a renewed determination here in Britain by those who most assuredly, by every word and deed, do not have our best interests at heart, to have us stop eating meat and dairy. They're like a dog with a bone, if you pardon the pun. I put out a tweet, it's last night actually, asking if Ed Miliband, Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, God help us all, is in fact the stupidest man in Britain. Just asked the question. And judging by the replies I got, he's most certainly to be regarded as in the running for the title. The UK government's own climate watchdog, an increasingly rabid dog called the Climate Change Committee, has said Britons should cut meat and dairy intake by half in the years ahead, swapping farm-grown food for the always sinister-sounding plant-based alternatives. It's easy to imagine Miliband to the fore among Britain's stupidest. It's easy to imagine he might be an enthusiastic supporter for this, the latest harebrained suggestion from the ranks of the anti-human. No doubt he won't be eating the crap himself. None of those clowns ever practice what they preach. He championed electric cars long before switching to one himself, and only when caught out on national TV as still taking advantage of the internal combustion engine. Like the entirety of the ill-described green agenda, it's never about what they say it's about. Green energy isn't about the good of the planet, it's about subsidies and profit for the already rich, tooled up as they are to jump aboard the latest bandwagon. The switch to plant-based alternatives from meat and dairy, it's just more of the same. It's nothing to do with your health and all to do with the health of the bank accounts of the billionaires invested in the snake oil. Here are the ingredients in a random offering of a plant-based substitute for a chicken burger. This is on the back of the packet. Water, flour, olive oil, salt, dried yeast, antioxidant E300, sunflower oil, pre-dust, palm fruit fat, emulsifier E471, raising agent E500, colour E150C, dehydrated vegetables, potato starch, spices, herbs, thickener E407A, canola oil, flavour enhancer E621, acidity regulator E331, smoke flavouring, maltodextrin, raising agent E450I and E450II, spice extract, soy protein isolate, pea protein, bamboo fibre, thickener E461, dextrose. The list goes on. Chicken burger. Shouldn't have anything in it but chicken. Those that would drive farmers off the land they have farmed for centuries and thereby take control of food production and food distribution have sought for years to persuade us, to propagandise us, that red meat, grass-fed red meat, some of the stuff that enabled our species to grow big brains in the first place, is bad for our health and for the health of the planet. In fact, there are many credentialed physicians who say red meat is the most healing food of all, enabling the body to repair itself in real time, providing easily digested protein, all the B vitamins, particularly B12, zinc, copper, iron, essential creatine. And far from damaging the planet, as we're relentlessly told, cattle are part of the circle of life. Of course they are. They propagate and spread plants that in turn absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and let it be trapped in the soil. The presence of grazing herds mitigates droughts and wildfires. The methane that the animals produce is recycled by the atmosphere in a few years, 10 or 12. It's all cyclical. It's all intended. It all works. We're expected to believe instead that monocrops, raised at colossal scale, using God knows what chemistry to maintain and boost them, and that's before we contemplate sidelines into vast aircraft hangar-sized sheds full of insects grown in the dark in readiness for our consumption. That's what we're supposed to believe in, switch to, adjust for. Industrial farming of crops would anyway require yet more deforestation, cutting down more trees. If there was a shred of authenticity in the trumpeted claims about plant food over meat, then it would be about good vegetables and other crops grown close to home and not flown halfway around the world. Schools would teach children about good food, what good food actually is. They would teach them about maintaining the soil. It all comes back to the soil. They would teach them about how to cook the resultant crops instead of opting for ultra-addictive, sugar-laden, ultra-processed rubbish ready for the microwave oven, ready for the bin, really. No one would contemplate for a moment the consumption of anything prepared with so much as a teaspoonful of seed oil, palm oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, and the rest of the industrial products, once used not for food, but for lubricating machinery. Those that would further undermine our well-being with ersatz Frankenstein food are the same that were cheerleaders during the scamdemic for shutting down gyms and play parks, banning walks on the beach and in the hills, condemning kids to imprisonment at home, and leaving open the fast food joints. All of it's about diminishing us, making us less, until finally we disappear altogether. The medical industry isn't about making us healthy or keeping us healthy. It's about making profits by pushing the big pharma products that treat the symptoms resultant from eating the crap churned out by the ultra-processed food industry. It's true to say that in the United States of America, the single most valuable commodity is a sick child, kept ailing for a lifetime of consumption of ultra-processed food that keeps them enthralled to the medics incentivized to pump them full of this potion and that. The legal definition of genocide is the committing of acts with the intention to destroy a people. I'll read that again. The legal definition of genocide is the committing of acts with the intention to destroy a people. There are more ways than the most obvious to destroy people. It can be done at once, or it can be done by degrees. First by destroying the soul, and then by destroying the flesh and bone. If the powers that be wanted other than our reduction and destruction, the world would be an altogether different place. The activities of the powerful would be different too. But rather than striving for accessible and affordable energy for all, rather than celebrating the human spirit, its achievements so far and its potential in the future, rather than eradicating disease by maximising human health and well-being, we have allowed to grow around us a psychopathic class that views humanity itself as a disease awaiting a cure. If we want to avoid a crime against humanity worse even than those already recorded by history, then the time to stand in defence of life itself is now.